Reading with your kids.
Hola, ni hao, konnichiwa, assalamu alaikum, shalom, mahaba, moni muli wanji, namaste, jambo, bienvenidos. Hi, my name is Jedley, and this is the Reading with Your Kids podcast, an iHeartRadio Best Kids and Family Podcast Award nominee. We are coming to you from the beautiful neighborhood of Reedville in the southwest corner of Boston, Massachusetts. We are delighted that you are joining us, teaming up with us to help families grow closer together by reading more. We are so excited. We have a wonderful, wonderful guest today. Her name is Evita Giron. She is here to celebrate her beautiful picture book, The Girl with Magical Curls. Before we invite Evita into the studio, we want to invite you to join our ginormous book giveaway. That's right, the Reading with Your Kids podcast is giving away more than 20 books to one lucky family out there. You know, they say that having as few as 20 books in your family library increases your child's chances of attending a university. Well, we're giving you that 20 books plus, and they're great, great books. We're highlighting Nick Stone's Clean Getaway, great middle grade novel by one of our favorite guests, Nick Stone. It's part of the giveaway. We have picture books. We have middle grade novels. So if you are entering the contest today and you have a little one that is snuggled up with you, loving to read or consume board books, this is a perfect opportunity because these books can entertain and inspire your kids through their school years. It's really easy to enter. Just go to our Facebook page, facebook.com/readingwithyourkids. Find our ad where our post announcing it. Same with Twitter @JedleyMagic. And just like the post and you're entered. Like and share the post. There's 2 entries. Post a picture showing that you have subscribed to the show and tag us. That's 10 entries. It really is simple and easy. It's Reading with Your Kids' ginormous book giveaway. Winner will be announced February 13th, 2021. Joining us right now from Central New Jersey, the Garden State. She is here to celebrate her book, The Girl with Magical Curls. Please welcome to the show, Evita Giron. Evita, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm wonderful. I'm really excited to have you on. I used to have curls when I had hair, and it got long, and it really bums me out. In high school and college, I had this blonde hair. It was long. It was curly. It was magnificent, and now it's all gone.
Aw.
So tell us about the girl with the magical curls that I'm so jealous of.
The idea came about in 2014. I was watching the Dove Love Your Curls campaign commercial, which is a really sweet commercial. I don't know if you've had a chance to see it, but it is on YouTube. And Dove was interviewing all these little girls that had curly hair, and they were describing how they felt about their hair. A majority of them did not like their curls. A majority of them thought that their hair was, not pretty. If their mom had straight hair, they wished that their hair was straight like their mom's. And I was watching that, and it kind of gave me some nostalgia, of when I was little and, dealing with, my hair and what I thought about it, and in terms of self-beauty or self-identity. And, at the time, my daughter was about 2 years old. And, she was starting to come into her own, curls and everything. And I started doing her hair and trying new products that I just thought about, in terms of the perception of beauty. I feel like it starts when a little girl is young. It's important for her to have either women or friends or some type of family member or someone who can help them to embrace that side of themselves, to embrace their hair, to love their curls. So what better way to express that, by writing a children's book. I've always been a writer. I've been writing since junior high school, and I started with poetry and short stories. So really seriously thinking about becoming an author was something that over time, I thought about, but I really put it into practice in 2014. That's when I started jotting down ideas And that's when I started, looking into, okay, what's needed to write a book? How do I find an illustrator? So I went through all of those things in 2014.
That's a lot to learn. You know,
Yes.
it's interesting. You're talking about so many girls with curly hair don't like their curls.
Yes.
Here in my home, not that I ever have to use it for any reason, but when my daughter was young, when she was in high school, there was a curling iron here in the house, and my daughter and my wife shared it, and my wife used it to curl her hair because she wanted curly hair. And my daughter, who had my blonde curly hair, used it to straighten her hair.
Yes.
It's like
exactly.
we never are happy with what we were born with.
Yeah, that's interesting because, growing up, my mom would take me to the hair salon, we'd get our hair done, and they would straighten it, and then they would take a curling iron to make looser curls. So it's like, it's weird. It's like, why would you take an iron to make looser curls when you can, you have those natural curls? They may not be as loose. Some people have, different curl type and curl texture, but it's still beautiful. It's yours. Yeah. So it's a really interesting dynamic that, I'm really glad that now there is, more of a larger community around embracing and loving your curls. We have the Diva Curl Salon. We have so many different curl products from Dove. Pantene now has, curly hair products for all types of women and girls. So, I think, there's been a mass, influx of love your curls now than ever before.
Yeah. I think that is so important to help our kids learn to love themselves, to help them understand that they are beautiful. They were beautifully created. And that's such an important lesson to share with our kids. How can we do that day to day? Obviously, sitting down and reading your book with our kids and then talking about it is a wonderful way to start that process. But how can we just reinforce that with our especially with our girls, but with our boys too, just to help them understand that they are beautifully created and we love them and they deserve to be loved.
Absolutely. I'm really glad that you mentioned, how can we also express that to our boys? Because, I know of some boys that do have my book, and they've talked to me about, how they've learned to love themselves and embrace themselves. And also they want to relay the same message to, maybe they have a little sister who could also use that, reinforcement, of self-care and self-love. I think, how can we learn to love ourselves? Definitely practicing affirmations, positive affirmations. Things like, I'm a beautiful person. I'm a kind person. I'm compassionate. We can also tell our children that each day, not just with something, let's say we ask, our sons or daughters, can you clean your room? Oh, you did a good job. But also saying, oh, you're very attentive to X, Y, and Z, or you help me out every day. I really appreciate that. I think really just speaking kindness to our children each time that we, get the opportunity, and also, telling them to say positive affirmations every day, and we can say that with them. I know that I try to do that with my daughter. We do like little activities of like, vision boards, things that we like, things that help us to, just be better people. So I think really just reinforcing positivity as much as we can helps them to identify themselves and say, I love myself. I love what I have. I'm grateful.
Yeah. I love what you said. I especially love that the idea of looking for things to compliment kids on. That's one of the, when I was working in human services a bazillion years ago, that's one of the things that we would do with a kid who had, he was ending up working with me because he had violated a law and ended up in the justice system. So we were trying to help them reconnect with the community. And one of the ways we were doing is look for reasons to compliment. But that would be such a wonderful thing to do. Why wait until the kid is in trouble? Let's be proactive. Let's right from the get-go, like, yeah, you did and we do that with our baby, You stood up by yourself. Excellent. Great job. You walked to me. Great. You threw up on me. Wonderful. That's working too. It seems like there comes a time when our expectations change, and it's like, our kids can do things now, and it's, why aren't they doing it perfectly? None of us do things perfectly. We all need those positives in our lives.
Yes, indeed.
You talked about doing a vision board with your daughter. How old is your daughter? And I hear that term a lot, but like I said, I'm almost 100 years old. We didn't have that term when I was growing up or when my kids were younger. What is for you? What is a vision board, and how is that something? How do you do that? How do you create one with your daughter?
So my daughter just turned 8 this past Sunday.
Oh, happy birthday!
Thank you. And what it is it's basically a visual poster board. So you can put it on poster board. You can put it on your wall. You can make a collage or using a notebook. And it's basically images that you could cut out of a magazine, or if you find on the internet, of things that you like or want to aspire to do, or someone that you aspire to be. Not trying to, and I don't mean that by saying like, oh, you want to become somebody different or be someone that you're not. It's using positive words to truly love yourself. So, for instance, some people do vision boards if they want to, manifest a car, or, for some kids, a particular toy. But sometimes it could also just be, positive words. I am kind, I am compassionate. I am confident. Fairly recently I came across a book about, affirmations that kids could say. And it was a really cute book. So it was things like, I am a really good friend, I'm compassionate, I'm thoughtful. And it was just little words like that. And I bought the book for my daughter, and she said, oh, I want to put together, a little vision board. So we got the paper out, and she was cutting images out that she really liked, images of kindness, maybe some of her favorite animals, that she really loves and adores. And she put those on the vision board. And, we don't always get to it every day, but I'll say like a couple times during the week, she looks at it and we talk about it, and she talks about, the importance of positive words, the importance of, just really truly loving yourself and loving the skin that you're in. It's a journey. It is a process. But it's definitely a good journey to be on.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's what better way to start. A lot of the tools that we have out now, sometimes I wish, if we had that back then when I was growing up, but at least, never too late to learn something new.
Yeah. I think that's so important. It sounds like there's a real push to help our kids become more intentional with their lives. An expression, a vision that I used to use with my son, who, when he was younger, just kind of floated through life. And I said, do you just want to be a leaf that's just kind of floating down a river, wherever the river takes you? Or do you want to make some choices and get a direction that you want to go in? I think that's really important. I did being somebody who is up in front of kids before the pandemic a lot. And, if I would read something, I'd be able to test it. And I was reading a study that said kids who have dreams, kids who aspire to something, do so much better in school. And not just college and high school kids, but younger kids. And so, for a week, every time I was in front of an audience of 300, 400, 500 kids, I would say, How many of you guys have a dream? You're going to grow up and you want to be X, Y, or Z. And it's okay if it changes, but how many of you have a dream? And I was shocked and really saddened to see that only 40 to 50% of the kids would raise their hands to say that they had a dream, that they were aspiring to something. And I think I think as parents, I think that's something that's important for us to get out there to kids, to help them see themselves as doing some amazing things in the world.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You have me think of something, my daughter does school half remote and half in person. When she does the in-person schooling, it's only for about 4 hours a day. And then she comes home and does the rest remotely. And they had a recent brief project of where they had to talk about what they wanted to aspire to be when they grew up. And my daughter is interested in becoming a veterinarian.
Good.
She loves animals. So you just reminded me of that in terms of, asking kids, what are some of your goals? What would you like to be when you grow up?
And I think that's something that's important for us to kind of support when I have a wonderful niece who, when she was in the 8th grade told me that it wasn't I'm thinking of, but she was going to be a detective, an engineer, and a doctor.
Wow.
And, and
awesome. My
reaction was, you can do, there's some things you can add. There are doctors who are detectives and they search for things and the idea was just to support. Yeah, you want to do that? How can I help you?
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. How can I help you? That's the key.
Yeah. So what kind of reaction do you have from girls or boys when they're reading The Girl with Magical Curls?
You know what? It's been really wonderful. I've received so much positive feedback about my book. My book is published in English and Spanish. I recently published the Spanish version about the end of November, so a little before Thanksgiving. I've received so much positive feedback. I've received a lot of feedback from moms saying that, this is a book that they wished they could have had when they were growing up. But that they're glad to share it with their, especially the ones that have little girls, they're really glad to share it with their daughters. And, their daughters love the book. They talk about being inspired by the character, and the character is my daughter, Tatiana. So it's kind of, I guess you could say autobiographical, because my husband and I are also in the book.
You got to write about what you know.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
What is Tatiana's reaction now that she knows that she's the star of a book?
She thinks it's really cool. She does talk about it with her teachers in school. They actually have 2 copies at the school. So they recently read it in class maybe about a month ago when they read it. But she's really excited about it, and she has other ideas for me in terms of a second book or any ideas that I end up sharing with a friend or sharing with my husband. She wants to chime in and say, hey, I think you should think about this and think about that. So she has a lot of input.
Good for her. That's really wonderful. Now, you mentioned that you've had a dream to be an author since junior high, and you've accomplished that dream. Is it as wonderful as you imagined?
I think it's even more special. Before, my dream was to aspire to be like Stephen King and, be with a traditional, publishing company, and my book turned into a movie, and, I'm traveling around the world, and, that's probably any independent author that I know has that dream, with the exception of some people that, just want to publish a book and they don't really aspire for it to, really make it big. But, I think the difference is in being an independent author, you really get to connect with people more. And I really like connecting and talking with people about my book. Yeah. I really like doing the small community events. I like, doing podcasts like this. I like really just being in touch with people. And I think if I was, traveling around to several large events, I wouldn't have a chance to connect with that many folks. Mm-hmm. So I think there's something even more precious and special about being an independent author.
I think you're right. One of the things, I mentioned that am out in front of kids, in front of an audience, and sometimes it can be 500, 600, 700 kids. Mm-hmm. But one of the things that I love, and I won't be able to do it for an awfully long time, is I go out and shake every hand in the audience before and pick up after the show.
And, that's awesome.
And yeah, it was because that can, like you said, it's making those connections. Yes. I love being up on stage and hearing the kids respond, but it's like that when you're connecting with a human being and it's real and you're looking in each other's eyes, even if it's only for a second. It's such a blessing, and I'm really happy that you've discovered that your book is this key that's opening up all these wonderful mini relationships that you're having with people who love your book.
Yes, it's really magical. It really is. It really makes me want to, in terms of publishing, probably stay for a while with the independent publishing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we talk a lot, and we're going to have even more episodes devoted for authors, just about the different pros and cons, and we're living in such a beautiful time, aside from COVID. We're living in such a beautiful time that we have this technology that gives authors a voice. They don't need to go through get permission from a giant corporation to have their words heard. They can go out there and get them published either as a podcast, as a video on YouTube, or as a book. And what a blessing that is, not only for authors, but I think for readers too, because there's so many more voices that can be heard.
Yes, absolutely. I'm really, I think this time period has taught me that, you don't need to physically be or go anywhere. You can just sign up for an event, if it's a podcast or if it's, to read your book for a literacy program. You just sign up, click the link, and everybody's there and they can join you. So it makes it really easy. I think it's strange because I feel like, it's easier to communicate now than it was before. If that makes sense.
No, it certainly if we didn't have this technology, I can't imagine what school would be like if school would be happening right now. Yeah. And certainly, we had an intercontinental Thanksgiving. The first Thanksgiving, we didn't have 30 people in the house. It was just my beautiful wife and I, plus the people from Puerto Rico and China and Baltimore and different places all joining us on Zoom to consume a meal together.
That's great. That's beautiful.
Hey, tell everybody where they can go online to connect with you and learn more about your work.
Awesome. I have a website, which is called curlyvita.com. That is where I have written blog articles about my book, as well as about the self-care and hair and beauty. I also have a Instagram page called I am Evita Giron, if you would like to follow me. And The Girl with the Magical Curls can be found on Amazon.com as well as Barnes & Noble.
Awesome.
Yes.
Do you have any advice that will help an old man get back his curls? She's smiling. I'm going to guess that's a no.
I'm sorry.
Well, that's okay. That's okay. I'm learning to love my bald pate anyways. We've had a great time speaking with the author of The Girl with Magical Curls, Evita Giron. Evita, thank you so much for being part of our show.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. It's a pleasure.
Please be sure to join us for the next episode of the Reading with Your Kids podcast. Our guest will be Fernanda Lazaro. She'll be here to celebrate Tilsonburger Adventures. That's the next episode of the Reading with Your Kids podcast. If you are the author of a fantastic children's book, we would love to have you as a guest on the show. Being a guest, it's fun, it's easy, it doesn't cost you a thing, and it gives you the chance to tell thousands and thousands of people about your fantastic children's book. Go to our website, readingwithyourkids.com. Click on the author tab at the top of the page. Scroll on down to where it says, be a guest, well, it doesn't sing, thankfully. But just click on that Be a Guest tab, tells you all about it. Want to thank the folks who made today's show so very, very wonderful. Of course, want to thank our guest, Evita Giron. Be sure to check out The Girl with the Magical Curls. Also want to thank my team, Alejandro Doherty, Fatima Khan. Want to thank my two amazing interns this semester, Alexia Brown and Hannah Pat Oboyski. Of course, I want to thank my beautiful wife for all the support she gives me. I want to thank Augie the doggy for having my back here in the studio. But most of all, I want to thank you. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. And as always, thank you so very much for taking the time to make the world a better place by reading with your kids. I'll be looking for you in the next edition of the Reading with Your Kids podcast.